Hi, I'm Jess, and I am so excited to be here today with you at the Winter Workshop, 8th day of our Winter Workshop presented by Kids Club. Today, we're going to be making a Christmas tree pop-up card. So this is a really fun project and really easy. It's all about kind of working with shapes, really, which is super fun. So when you open your card, you'll have this kind of 3D, and you can kind of see the 3D effect there. Of the Christmas trees popping out. So to make this project, here's what you're going to need. You'll need some construction paper or different pieces of paper. I've got a bunch of different colors here because we're going to use it not only for our card base and inside, but for the trees and for any extra decorations that we might want to do here on the outside of the card or the inside of the card. Okay, so get your construction paper together or any kind of colored paper. Construction paper is nice because it's easy to cut through, but if you've got cardstock or anything like that, that would work too. You will also need glue. So I've got a couple different kind of an Elmer's glue-esque type glue here and a Creatology glue stick. Either one are fine for this project. You'll need scissors. I'm using grown-up scissors, but if you're a kid, I highly recommend you use the kid scissors and leave the grown-up scissors to the adults, but you may need some more heavy duty scissors as we're cutting through the thicker pieces of this that you'll need an adult to help you with. So have both on hand. We'll be using sequins today, but if you have gems or pom-poms, even other pieces of different colored construction paper, any of these can work as a way to embellish your Christmas trees here in the card. Okay, so I'm just going to be using some kind of flat gems, but or sequins rather, but there are plenty of other things you can do if you don't have sequins on hand. And then lastly, we are going to need some markers or crayons, pens, pencils, any of that will work to create some of this kind of detailed drawing and embellishment on your card as well. Okay. So first things first, I'm going to cover my space. I've just got a nice clean piece of paper here so that I don't get any glue or anything on my table. We're going to do some of the easy stuff first, okay? Let's see, any questions about the materials needed?
Yes, so we have a few questions. Elianne wants to know, what type of colors do you need for construction paper?
You can use, so one of the most fun things about this project, in addition to it being all about shapes, is that really this is something that you can let your imagination go wild. I'm going to show you how to make the Christmas trees. That's probably going to be the one element today that, you know, we all probably need to follow along in the same way. But everything else you can customize to whatever you want. So if you want to use, I'm going to be using red and green for my, red and white for my primary card elements and green for my trees. But if you wanted pink trees or blue trees, if you wanted your base to be purple, black, whatever, all those colors are fine and good. It's whatever card you want to make because you are going to be giving this, I'm sure, to someone special. So you want it to be as special as you. So just choose a bunch of different colors. You're going to need 2 different colors though for the inside of the card. So you get this nice kind of offset effect. Okay.
Great answer. We have another one. They're just asking if you can use liquid glue instead.
Yes, you should be able to. This glue I have is actually another Creatology glue, and it is a liquid glue, perfectly fine to use as well. And it's just going to take a little bit longer for some of the elements to dry, but that's not a big deal. It shouldn't, if you're not using too much, that shouldn't be a problem at all. So absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay, so we'll get started. So the first thing I want you to do is grab your construction paper and pick the color paper that you want to be this outside edge of your card, right? So this is going to be the color that people see when they first get the card, okay? I'm just for the sake of copying my example, I'm going to go with red, but again, you can choose whatever color you like. So I'm going to get my red sheet here. And the other piece you want to grab right now is this inside piece. I am going to use kind of a white or an off-white to do that again here. Something you should think about is making sure that you're picking a color where people can see what you're writing, because this is where you're going to write your personalized message or add decoration. And so you want to make sure this is a lighter color so that those things really pop on your project. Okay. So the first step is super easy. We're going to take that outside piece of construction paper, and this is 8.5 by 11 size construction paper. You can use any size, really. You could make a giant card, but for the purposes of the Christmas trees that we're going to make, I'm using 8.5 by 11. I will talk through like what size you need to make those. So if you have a bigger piece of paper or a smaller piece of paper, you can scale up or scale down as you need to. Okay, so first things first, and I'll run through really quickly just the steps we're going to take. So first, we're going to form this outside piece of the card. So we're going to form our card base. Okay, we're going to take this outside piece of construction paper, the inside piece of construction paper, and we're going to glue them together. Okay, then we'll go through and we'll make these trees. So that'll be our third step. And then we're going to come back and do all of our embellishments and put it all together. So a lot of fun, but that's kind of the broad view of the steps we'll take. So first we're going to work on this outside piece of the card. Okay. So again, I'm using red as my outside, but you can use whatever color you like. And this is probably the easiest part of this entire project. You're just going to fold it. You're going to have it horizontal, and you're going to fold it in half. Okay. Easy peasy. And just crease that down so you've got a nice crease, just like that, okay? Easy peasy. Then we're gonna do the same thing for our, this piece of paper that's gonna go on the inside. Now, something you'll notice is these two pieces of paper are the same size, right? So we'll cut this down here in a moment, but first I just wanna fold it, okay? So I'm gonna do exactly what I did with my red piece of paper, and I'm gonna fold it and crease it, again, horizontally in half, okay? And you can see how those two things will nestle together very nicely. But we wanna create some space around the inside so that the red shows through. So to do that, I'm just gonna take my white piece of paper, and I'm going to cut a little bit, maybe like 1/2 inch off the top, and then 1/2 inch off the side. Okay. And it doesn't have to be precise. If you want to be precise, grab a ruler and you can mark it. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to kind of freehand it. But if you want a cleaner edge, definitely you could always draw a line with a ruler before you cut. Whoop, and see here. Not keeping my pieces together, so. Okay. And then I'm gonna cut, so I cut my top, and you can see what that will do. That gives me, when I put it in, that gives me a nice little edge around the top and bottom, okay? So next I'm gonna cut a little bit off this side here. And I'll go back over this. If I'm going too fast for anyone, I'll go back over this just before we move on to the next step, okay? So I'm just gonna cut off these pieces, these sides. And I kind of did that wonky. So I'm just gonna clean up that edge. So I cut a little bit off of the top or bottom, whichever side, and I cut a little bit off of this end. So now when I nestle it into my big card, I have a nice edge all around both sides, okay? So again, what we did was we took one piece of construction paper and simply folded it in half, okay? Easy peasy. We took the next piece of construction paper and we folded it in half as well, same way. But because it was the same size, we didn't have our nice edge on the inside. So I just cut a little bit, about 1/2 inch off one side of this inside page, and about 1/2 inch off the outside of this inside page. Okay, and then you can nestle them in. And that should leave you, when you line it up in the middle, with a nice outside edge all the way around, okay? Next, as you're working on that, I'm gonna go ahead and glue down my base. So, and then I'm gonna put it aside so it has a little bit of time to dry. So I'm just gonna take my Creatology glue stick here, handy dandy. Okay. And I'm gonna put glue on the back of my little inside piece of paper here. I'm gonna get it good and sticky because we want it to stick really well to that big outside card too, okay? Awesome. Okay, I'm gonna flip that over and I'm gonna line up my center lines here. And then I'm just gonna push that down. Okay. There you go. I've got my card. And while I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm actually going to recrease because with the two pieces of paper, it gets a little bit, the crease comes out a little bit. So I'm going to recrease. There we go. Have a nice card. I'm going to set this aside. Any questions before I move on to the next element? It's fine if you're still working on this. I'm just going to start to explain the next element because it's a little harder and we probably will have to go over it a couple times. So I want to make sure I'm giving everyone time.
Yes, there were a few questions coming in from those who joined a little bit late.
Okay.
They want to know if you can just repeat the instructions again.
Sure. So we're making this fabulous pop-up card. You're going to need construction paper, glue, some sort of embellishments. I'm using just plain kind of flat sequins today, but you can use gems, pom-poms, other construction paper, anything you want, probably some markers to do some writing or embellishment on the inside. And that's pretty much it. First step you want to do is create this base to your card. So you'll need 2 sheets of construction paper. You take the first one, fold it in half. You take the second one, fold it in half. And then for the second one, you're just going to cut off a little bit of an edge so that when you glue the second one to the first one, you've got a nice edge on the inside of your card that comes through and really allows this inside card part to pop. And then you just make sure that's nice and folded and put it off to the side to dry a little bit. If you have any questions, I'm going to move on to the Christmas trees part. But if you have any questions, this is being recorded, so you could always come back tomorrow. Go to michaels.com/classes or michaels.com/merrymaking, MERRY making. And you can rewatch this video, or you can search on michaels.com for pop-up card, the project, and it gives you step-by-step instructions there as well. Okay, so I'm going to put this, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say I put it into the chat already, but I'm definitely going to put it in again.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to our next piece. Okay, we're just going to put our card base aside. So next, what we're going to do is create our Christmas trees. And so I made a couple ahead of time because I'll be honest with you, I had to do this a couple times to figure out exactly how to do it. So what we're going to do is, if you've ever made snowflakes, right, or paper dolls that string together, it's the same principle. And we're going to do that with Christmas trees. So here I have an example I did earlier today with pink paper, but now I'm going to work with green so I can get this lovely Christmas tree pop-up 3D effect on my card. Okay. Any questions, Milani, you're seeing in the chat before I move on?
I'm just going through them. Someone asked, what if we don't have construction paper?
Sure. So there's other kinds of paper that you can use. Cardstock, you could absolutely use. It's going to be a little harder to fold and to cut, but certainly something you could use for this project. Printer paper, if you just want to draw, you could absolutely use. You might just have to do a little bit more coloring to kind of offset some colors, or you could get a pretty, very simple white on white look that could be gorgeous. So really any kind of paper could be great for this project. Again, I'm using 8.5 by 11 size construction paper, but you could use bigger, you could use smaller. You just have to think about the scale and maybe make smaller cuts or bigger cuts according to what color paper you have.
Sweet, thank you for that. Another question came in. What about glitter for embellishments?
Who doesn't love glitter? At Michael's, glitter is like, it's probably on our national Michael's flag, or if it's not, it should be. So absolutely, you can use glitter, 100%. You can use whatever you want to embellish this. This is your card. Again, going to be unique as you, and you're going to give it to somebody special, I know. So you want it to reflect who you are and what you like. There is no end to the creativity you can use on this project. I'm going to follow along our instructions just so everyone kind of has an idea of how to do this, but feel free to put your own spin on this as we go. So if you want to use, for some of my trial and error Christmas trees that I made, if you want to use different color Christmas trees, 100% okay. I would love that. And we would love to see all of the different types of projects that you guys come up with. Have your mom or dad or guardian post a finished picture of your project to our account at #Michaels.com, or excuse me, #MakeItWithMichaels or #Michaels classes. We would love to see everyone's creativity. So, okay. So to get this cool effect, we are going to scrunch up a piece of paper, essentially. So you kind of accordion a piece of paper. If anyone has made, when I was a little girl, I lived in North Carolina and it was so hot. And we always used to, in school, we'd make fans out of paper to fan ourselves because it would get so hot. So this is essentially what we're going to do. We're going to accordion some paper so that we can get this nice, make some cutouts and get this nice tree effect. Okay, super fun, super cool. I've tried this a couple different ways. Sometimes I succeed, sometimes I fail. That's okay. You just have to try again if it doesn't work out the first time. But what's worked best for me is to take a piece of paper and this 8.5 by 11 size paper, we're actually going to fold it as vertically, right? So you want to fold it the long way, if that makes sense. And I have found here just where I get to the right number of trees that we need for our project, you need to be folding it 7 times, okay? 7 times. So what that means when you measure it out is about 1 3/4 inches per fold. Doesn't have to be perfect, just kind of if you do have a ruler handy, it might make it a little bit easier. You can also, as a guide, in the instructions on the project page on michaels.com, we did provide a template for this tree. You absolutely don't necessarily need it for this project, but if you want to grab it and use it, this does give you, and you cut out the piece, this does give you a nice kind of understanding of how long that each accordion needs to be. So you could also use this as we go through. So I'm going to accordion my paper. I'm just going to take my ruler and make sure I've got approximately the right size here. Again, 1 inch and about 3/4. And we'll see if I do this right the first time or not. It's okay. We might have to do it a couple times. Sometimes the first time I did it, I had 3 trees, but they were not connected. So, I could have used those in a different way to make a really cool project too. So there's never a wrong way to do anything. There's just different ways of doing things. And we get different results, which is awesome. So while we're folded, before I move on, so to fold, and what I mean by an accordion fold is you're going to take the your first fold and you're going to fold forward, and then you're going to make your crease, okay? And then you're going to turn your paper over and you're going to do the same thing there, and you're going to make a crease. And then you're going to turn your paper over and you're going to fold again. and make a crease. So we're just slowly moving down our paper and folding it into this fun accordion shape, one strip at a time. Okay. Let's see if I did this correctly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I did. So hopefully what you want to end with is at least 7 panels. Okay. So, and by panel, I mean these little edges, right? So I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. And you'll see even in mine, my 7th one, I didn't do my measurements exactly right. That's okay. Okay. Some of these edges we'll cut off and trim, not going to be a big deal. Okay. So, any questions on the accordion? Because this is probably the trickiest piece we're going to do today. I want to make sure everyone feels good about how to do the accordion piece.
I don't see any questions. Actually, one just came in from Tegan. Can you repeat the folding process?
Yes, 100%. So I'm just going to straighten out. I'm going to use the same piece of paper, but I'll straighten it out again. Okay. Awesome. Okay. So we're going to take our piece of paper and we're going to put it down the long way facing us. Okay. I'm going to flip it over actually. The first thing we're going to do, ultimately, we want 7 sections. Okay. 7 of these things. That's our goal. So we're going to take the first piece. We want each section to be about 1 3/4 ish. Doesn't have to be exact, but ish. And that will allow you on an 8.5 by 11 size piece of paper to get 7 sections. Okay. So you can take a ruler, you can kind of estimate it, but try to about 1.5 inches, a little over 1.5 inches. Okay. You're going to take it. If you have more or less than 7, if you end up with more or less than 7, what I would say is this becomes an experiment. And that's fine. It might become a brilliant experiment and you might end up with exactly the right product. You might not, and you might have to start over. So I can't say exactly, what each fold will produce. That's part of the fun of this project. But definitely let's give it a shot. Take the next step. If it works, great. If it doesn't, we just go back and we're going to try it again, or we'll take whatever cool thing we made and make it work for us. Right. Okay, so to do the fold, you've got your paper in front of you. You need about 1 3/4 inch space, and you're going to take the first part of the paper and you're going to fold it over. Okay, and then you're going to make a crease here on the edge, and then you flip the piece of paper over. So it's now the edge that you just folded is furthest away from you, and you're going to fold the piece of paper back toward you in the same with the same width. Okay. And you can use your original fold to kind of tell you what your next fold should be like. And then you're going to flip it back over. And this time the edge you need to fold is near you, and you will fold it back over again. And again, you're going to crease, and then you're going to flip it away from you and flip that piece back towards you and crease. And you're going to fold it back toward you, flip it over and crease. Your paper is slowly getting smaller and smaller. Flip it away from you, fold it towards you and crease. And then you've got your accordion. These are so much fun to play with. If you ever want to make a fan, just FYI, if you've never done this, you take your accordion and you fold it in half. See if I can remember how to do this. And then, it's been a while. Oh, and then you can tape these inside pieces together like this. And then you've got a nice little fan, and you can fan yourself with it, but in the other direction. Works really well in those hot summers. Okay, so we've got our accordion. What we're going to do now is if you printed out the template, you can use this template. The template is basically half of a Christmas tree. Okay, really easy. If you don't have the template, that's fine. I'll show you both ways, with the template and without, how to cut, so you know how to do it both ways. Okay, if you have the template, you're going to take this, this folded piece of accordion paper now that you have, and the loose end here. Okay, so this is an end that's not attached to anything. I'm trying to help you see that. Okay, you want that to be on the left-hand side. Okay, you want to take your template and you want the straight edge of your template to line up to that loose edge on the left-hand side here. Okay, so I'm going to do like this, essentially. All right, see how I've got that lined up? And then I'm going to take my scissors, and actually, just for the sake of this, because I do have a little extra, I'm going to trim this off, just so it's easier for everybody to kind of see what I'm doing. So you might not need to do this part. I just need to do it because I didn't, I had a little extra paper on mine. Okay, so we've got nice, clean tree template, and I'm just going to cut out these shapes here. So I get a tree shape with my paper. Okay, I'm left with a tree shape. Now, something to think about is these edges here on the right side, you want to make sure you leave little bits of the paper still touching. So you don't want it to be that you've cut all the way through, or else when you pull them apart, they'll be separate trees. They won't be all strung together. So you want to make sure that as you're cutting these triangles, you're leaving maybe a little 1/4 of an inch on the edge of each of these pieces here so that they can stay strung together. Okay, so I'm not going to cut from this, let's see how you can see it best. I'm not going to cut right from this edge. I'm going to go up a little bit, so I'm leaving a piece where those pieces are really cut together. I'm going to try to show you this a little bit better. Well, let's see, it's hard to do. I'm going to leave some pieces. I'm not cutting right at the bottom edge. I'm cutting just above it. Okay, and I'm going to cut out basically a triangle. And this will be the first piece of my tree. Again, I'll show you how to do this without the template as well, okay? All right, so that's one. Then I'm going to go to the next one. I'm going to cut the same triangle, but again here, I want to leave a little bit of this paper still left together, so I'm not cutting at the very edge again, because we want those pieces stuck together, rather. All right. And this is where, you know, those safety scissors, kid scissors might be a little hard because you're cutting through multiple layers of paper. So this is where kids, if you're having trouble with your safety scissors, you might want to have a grown-up help you with some adult scissors, because it's just a little easier when you've got so many pieces of paper folded together. It gets a little bit harder to cut, quite frankly. But you may be doing great. It's not impossible. Okay, let's see. Everybody fingers crossed. If I did this well. We did. And we got 3 full trees, and I have a little half a tree that I'm actually going to cut off because we don't need this half a tree for our project. Okay. All right. So that was with the template. Now we're going to do it same thing without the template. So I'm going to go back to this piece of paper, and I'm actually just going to use the same one. I'm just going to cut off the top. Okay. So I've got my piece of accordion paper, right? Without the template, I'm going to make sure that the open end of the paper is to my left. So I've got this open end of my paper is facing my left. I'm going to go to the right side, and I'm going to cut a triangle just above the bottom of the paper. So I'm going to leave a little bit at the bottom of the paper, and then I'm just going to cut a diagonal line up, and then I'm going to come up a little bit, let's see, and cut across. All right, so I'm cutting out a triangle just like that. Okay, and then I'm going to do that same thing right above the triangle I just cut, again leaving a little bit of paper still connected, and I'm going to cut up at a diagonal. Whoop, cut a little bit too far, that's okay. Just have a very deep tree branch, that's okay. And then I'm going to cut across straight. Okay, and then my last cut, I'm going to do, again, leaving myself a little bit of connected paper here. I'm going to do a big diagonal cut for the top of my tree. Okay, and I'm going to cut all the way through. just like that. And again, we should have connected trees. All right, so I get 3 full trees and a half a tree. Any questions?
Yes, there are a few questions that came in. I'm going to give a second for the other attendees. One question came in from Cole and Aria. Does the straight edge of the tree go on the open flap side?
Yes, yes. So what you want, let's see, I'll use my fan. Okay, so yes, this, you want the straight, if you have the template, or if you don't have the template, you want like the, word's not bark, the trunk of the tree, where the trunk of the tree would be. If you had a full tree in the middle of your tree, you want that trunk to go up against you've got this little open kind of singular flap. You want the trunk to go up against that. Or if you don't have the template, you imagine the trunk is going up against that. So that open side, you're going to cut on, you're going to cut on the other side. Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you for that. And someone said, I keep getting separate trees. What am I doing wrong?
Yes. So I had very similar problem multiple times earlier today as I was practicing. What you're probably doing is when you're cutting the non-trunk side, right? So when you're cutting out your triangles, you're probably not leaving yourself space for the paper to stay connected. So you don't want a perfect edge. You actually want a little bit of a chunky edge in between. I'll try to show you how these have some kind of flat edges here, where I didn't cut right at the edge. I left it so that the paper would stay connected. So you want to leave yourself enough space in between those triangles where you're leaving space for the paper to stay connected. If you're trying to get too neat of a point, you're probably not leaving yourself enough paper, and that's when they'll come apart and you'll have 3 beautiful but separate trees.
Thank you for that. One more question came in. Can we draw our tree instead?
100% yes, absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. I bet you could draw a prettier tree than I can cut. So please do whatever you like with these cards. They're yours.
Sweet. Thank you so much.
All right. Okay. We're going to keep moving on. This is the hardest thing we're going to do today. So the rest is just like the fun embellishing part. And this is where you guys can get creative. So before we, if you did like me and you did the 7 flaps and you have this extra little bit here, or if you have more than 3 trees, I'm just going to cut off my extra half a tree because I don't need it for this project. So I'm just going to take my scissors and cut that off, leaving me, you know what, and I might want to make it look prettier than that. So I'm just going to cut that off, leaving me, cutting it wrong, with 3 total trees. Okay. There we go. And now I have my 3 trees. Okay. So next, grab your card base that you made earlier. It should be relatively dry by now and ready to work on. Okay. And we're going to put our tree in on the inside so we can start embellishing around it. Now, something to think about as you're building the inside of your card is make sure as you're decorating, as we get to the decorating step, that you're leaving yourself space to write somebody a note, because it's no fun to give somebody a card and not have them know who it's from. You want them to know how special you think they are and make sure your name goes somewhere on it. So leave yourself space as we think about decorating to make sure you're leaving space for the trees, or excuse me, for the writing. And actually, I am skipping a step, so I'm going to pause. Grab a piece of paper. The step I'm skipping is I forgot to add the tree trunks to the trees. So super easy. You're just going to grab another piece of construction paper. And I'm just going to use this kind of a light brown for my purposes. Again, here with the template, you can use, the template does provide a little square, but I I trust that all of you can cut a square pretty easily too. So I'm just going to do the same thing. Basically, I'm going to cut a strip. And you've got 3 trees, so you need 3 trunks, right? We're going to cut those. Just put this to the side. And we're just going to cut little squares. Easy peasy. Okay. We've got 3 squares. Push over to the side. And then I'm actually going to fold each of my squares in half so they match the fold in my tree so that they kind of go on well together. Okay, so I'm just going to fold them. They have a nice little crease in the middle. 2, 3. And there are my 3 tree trunks. And again, I'm going to take my Creatology glue stick and I'm going to put glue on about half of my tree trunk. I don't need glue on the whole thing because only half of it's going to stick to the tree. And then I'm just going to stick it right there on the back of my tree. And I'll do that for all 3. So now I have a little tree trunk. Okay. I'm going to do that for all 3 of my trees. Any questions that came in while we're gluing?
Can we draw the gifts on the card first before we put on the trees?
Absolutely. You do this however you want to. You might find it easier to draw first. The reason I'm adding trees first and then going to do the drawing is just so that I know, like I don't work on a drawing and get that I'm really proud of, and then it gets covered up by the trees. So I want to make sure I understand what space I have available to do some of the rest of my embellishments. But if you have a big idea and you want to put, you know, a big forest or a giant snowman in the background that's going to peek through your trees, then absolutely you're going to want to start your drawing first because your trees will go over that. Okay. Or just make sure you're leaving enough room for your tree, for your embellishments on the side. All right.
I have one more question. It said, is it okay if I cut rectangles?
Yes, absolutely. Squares or rectangles, you make those tree trunks as long as you want them to be. Okay. All right. I have got all my tree trunks on. Okay. And so next I'm gonna glue my trees onto my card. So as I'm thinking about here, I want to think about space a little bit and where I want things to go and making sure I'm leaving myself enough room for everything I want to do. So think about your message. Do you want your message to go at the bottom of your card or at the top of your card? Do you want, you know, your stuff to be a little off center, which would be perfectly fine. You can do that too and have a little bit more room over here for something you want to put in. So just think about where you want to position it. I'm going to position my 3 trees kind of down at the bottom. I want to leave room up at the top for a big happy holidays message. So I'm going to put mine a little bit down on my page, and I'm going to take my center tree and I'm going to line up the trunk crease of my tree with the spine of my card. Okay. And then I'm just going to take the edge and I'm going to glue the far edge of the tree on the right and the far edge of the tree on the left. And that's all I'm going to glue because I want these pieces to be loose so that they pop out and are fun. Okay. So think about where that placement would need to be, and think about, you know, whether you want them high or low on the page where your message is going to go, and think about how much. You don't want to do it too tight because then you don't get any pop. So you want to leave it a little bit of your before you glue them down, you want to make sure you're leaving a little bit of space for there to be the nice pop action on the card. Okay. So I'm going to flip mine over. I'm just going to put glue on these 2 outside pieces of the outside trees. Okay. I'm going to move that upside. All right. Got my glue on one side. Got my glue on the other side. Whoops, daisies.
Jess, really quick while you're doing this, someone asked, my trees are separated. Can you please tell me again where I am wrong?
Yes, I will. Let me get my trees down and I'll show you that again. Okay. Well, and while everybody's working on this step, we can go over that again. So I'm getting my trees down. I've got the one side down. I'm leaving myself a little space for my trees to be able to pop out. And I've got my other side going down. All right. Okay, so I've got my nice pop effect, pop effect going on my trees. Yay. So I'm going to set this aside for a second and I'm going to show while you guys are working on this element, I'll go accordion again and explain why you may be getting separate trees. Okay, so for those of you who may have already gotten this far, your next step is to start having fun. Okay, this is the best part. If you're using sequins, if you're using pom-poms, other construction paper, if you've got your markers or crayons or pens or pencils, if you've got your glitter, my glitter girl or glitter boy out there, and I know you're thinking of that, absolutely. Now's your time to shine, okay? So think about all the ways you might want to embellish the inside of this card. For example, we used presents and we just made little squares of paper and then drew bows on them with markers. We used our flat sequins for the ornaments on the tree. We just drew with marker a string of lights, but you can do whatever you like and make sure you're leaving your space room to write that wonderful holiday message to someone, okay? All right, so for my fellow separate tree maker, because I feel your pain, I was there multiple times earlier today. So you're gonna take your accordion, right? Again, you wanna fold it so that this single side, not attached to anything, is facing to the left, is on top and facing to the left, okay? I'm gonna assume you don't have a template, but if you do, again, you wanna, if you do or if you don't, you wanna imagine that the tree trunk of your tree is placed up against that outside edge, right? The loose edge that's on the left, okay? So your trunk's on the left, and then you're gonna cut out these triangles. Now, the reason why you are probably getting separate trees is because you're not leaving enough space right here at each of these points in the tree in between your triangles for the trees to stay connected. So if you see how the trees are connected, you can see it's kind of a thicker connection here, right? That's because I left more space between the first triangle and the second triangle so that the paper could stay together. So you're probably not leaving enough space, would be my guess, in cutting. So when you cut your first triangle, you don't want to start at the very diagonal edge. You want to start up a little bit, maybe 1/4 of an inch from the bottom of your paper. And that's where you want to start your cut. And then when you do the next triangle up from that, again, leave another 1/4 of an inch of paper in between where you finish this triangle and where you're going to start the next one. So that should allow that paper to stay connected together so that it strings together. All right. Okay. For those of you who have now affixed your trees, your pop-up trees, now, as I said, the fun begins. So I'm gonna start decorating my card. Please start decorating yours. I would love to know what you're planning to put on your card. Who's using what materials? Is anybody doing anything different than presents and Christmas lights? Are we gonna see any animals? What are you guys, how are you guys gonna decorate your cards? I would love to hear. So put it in the chat and we'll recognize some of the cool ideas you guys have. For me, I'm going to start with using these sequins as ornaments on my tree. So again, here, I'm going to start out by trying to use the glue stick. If that doesn't work, I'll use liquid glue. But I'm just going to take my sequin, put some glue on the end of that, get it nice and sticky, and then start putting them on my tree. Santa Claus, ooh, I love that. We're using pens, drawing those trees or drawing those embellishments. That's a beautiful idea. A birthday card. Oh my goodness. One of my children, I have 2 children. You know, Alice usually joins me, but I also have a son, and his birthday is the day after Christmas. So the day after Christmas, we decorate the Christmas tree with balloons and make it a birthday tree. So we have back-to-back big holidays in my house. It's super fun. What else? Pom-poms for stars. I love that. I love it. What kind of traditions do you guys have during the holiday season? Like we this weekend are going to be doing all of our cookie making. So I'm looking for new cookie recipes to make this year because we love making Christmas cookies. Or do you celebrate Hanukkah? And can you share any Hanukkah traditions or Diwali or Kwanzaa? I would love to know about all the ways we celebrate during these seasons. Cook a signature meal. Sounds like my kind of house. I like that. Making gingerbread houses. Oh my goodness. We just did that here last weekend. It is so much fun. I love that. And you make crafts. Do you keep them for the next year so that you can you start to have all your crafts that you've made over the years displayed? I hope so, because they are super special memories when you are making crafts together. Diwali and Christmas. Woo, that sounds super fun. I love it. It's such a special time of year. And I think one of the reasons I love this season so much is just everyone is so focused on joy, right? And making other people understand how loved they are and how special they are. And I think what a better way to spend a couple weeks of your life is letting other people know how important they are to you. So, and making special memories with them. I think that's just super special. All right. I think I'm actually going to switch over to the liquid glue because as much as I love a good glue stick, this is a sticky endeavor. So I'm going to switch over and see if I can do a little better with liquid glue. We have a birthday on the first day of the year, a new year baby. I love it. I bet your birthday, you have a big party right before your birthday, and then you get to have a whole nother day of partying. That's got to be fun. All right. Getting all my decorations on.
Just going through a few of the Q&A chat here. Abby wants to know, how do you do the wood of the bottom of the trees?
Absolutely. Okay. So get my last little sequin put down there. Really easy. So you could do it a couple of different ways. With if you go to michaels.com and you just search pop-up trees in the search bar, it will bring up both products and a project tab. And if you go to the project tab, you'll find this project. And it gives you step-by-step instructions there if you want to go back and look and see how to do it. But as part of those instructions, it also gives you a link to this template. So you can print this out and you'll see here on the template, there's a little base, a little trunk for your tree. But really, if we're being honest, it's pretty much a square, maybe a rectangle. So you could probably do that on your own too. So I just took my piece of paper rather than using the template. I took my piece of paper and I just cut out a length of the paper, maybe 3 inches or so. That was probably even a little bit too much, which is fine. And so now I've got my strip and I'm going to cut it up into 3 approximately equal squares or slightly small rectangles. And then I'm going to fold them in half so they match the fold on my tree, just like that, right? So you've got a little folded square, just like that. And then you're going to put glue just on the tip top and you'll put that behind your tree. Let's see, I'll use it. This is an example. I'm going to put it behind the tree and adhere it behind the tree so it fits nicely, just like that. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you for that.
Yes.
There are quite a few people wanting clarification on how to glue the tree.
Sure. Okay. So I'll use let me use my example again. I'm just going to cut off this edge. Okay. So you're only going to glue the tree in 2 spaces because you want to leave room for the tree to pop up when you open your card. Okay. So you're going to take your trees, and I'll use my example trees here. You're going to take your 2 outside trees and the outside edge of the outside tree. So these 2 that I'm kind of fluttering, and those are the 2 that you're going to glue down. The rest you're going to leave loose so that they have a nice pop when you open your card. So when you glue, you're going to glue the back of this side, and you're going to glue the back of this side. And you're going to glue those down here and leave the rest open so it gets a nice pop. Okay. So if you've got your tree glues down, please go ahead and start adding your sequins, add lights, presents, snowmen, Santas. If you have any woodland creatures you might want to throw in there, those will be fine too. Lots of fun ways and fun things we can do to embellish. And you can use all kinds of fun products, stickers, sequins, gems, you name it. This is your card.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. I've got to get a little bit more coverage on my tree, and then I'm going to move on to, I'll show you how to make the presents and the lights, just because I know we're starting to come close to time. Again, we recorded this today, so if you want to check it out, tomorrow we'll have it posted at michaels.com/classes or michaels.com /merrymaking, MERRY, Merry Making. And we'd love to see what you make too. So please have your parent or guardian take a picture of what you made and post it and hashtag it, #MadeWithMichaels or #MichaelsClasses. And it'll come up on our feed and we'll get to see all of your beautiful projects. So, okay, I feel like I have enough ornaments on my tree, going a little light this year. So next, I'm going to move on to using my markers to do my string of lights. So it's going to be pretty easy. Again, here, feel free to use your creativity. You may have a totally different approach, and that is entirely okay. So I'm just going to I'm remembering to leave enough room for my message. So I'm going to do it a little bit lower, and I'm just going to do a nice line across my paper. And then I'm going to use my colors and create little oval lights all the way along up on the top and the bottom of that line. I put up our Christmas lights outside last week, and that was a lot of work, let me tell you. But now our yard is so beautiful and bright, and I love looking at everyone's Christmas lights. So much fun. Does anyone have anyone in their neighborhood who does like crazy lots of Christmas lights? I was telling my kids this past weekend that there's a street in Austin, Texas. I don't know if, oh no, I made a mess. I don't know if they do this every year, but they used to do it where one street, like every single house on this street decks out their entire house in Christmas lights. And there are literally hundreds of thousands of Christmas lights, and they do them in their backyard, in the front yard, all over the house. Some people let you go inside their house, and you can walk around with hot chocolate or cider and look at all the beautiful lights and talk to all the people, and it's so much fun. All right, so I'm just making my string of Christmas lights here. Again, just a single black line with some little ovals off of it. Add as many colors or as few colors as you like, and whatever colors you like. Okay. And then I'm going to show you how to make those Christmas presents too, really quick. They're super easy. So again, we're just going to pick some construction paper, whatever colors you like. I think I will use purple and yellow. And you're just going to make little squares or rectangles, or if you're giving someone a bicycle, you could cut out a bicycle. I don't know how to tell you how to do that, but it could be fun. So you're just going to cut little squares of the colored paper. And I'm just going to cut a couple here, not too many. Big and little. And I'm just going to paste those down. I'll get my glue stick back out here. There we go. I'm going to paste those down just over here on the edges. Okay. It's okay if they overlap a little bit. That's perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with that. Whoops, daisies. Go. And then I'm just going to take a marker, and I think I will use blue, and I'm going to create my ribbon. So I'm just going to make a big cross across my package. And then I'll make little loops for a bow up at the top or in the middle, wherever you put your bows. There we go. And we have our card, our pop-up card. It's all ready to go. And here I can write my message up here, and I can give this to someone special. Thank you all so much for joining me today. I had a blast as always. Please don't forget, we've got 4 more days of our winter workshop. So tomorrow we've got, come back and visit us to make a penguin drawing and a frame. The next day, Friday, we've got a collage Christmas tree. Saturday, we've got winter frame. And then Sunday, we've got a clay reindeer pot holder. Excuse me, photo holder. So 4 more fun projects to make with us. We would love to see you again. Please join us. I had a great time today. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, everyone. I have put another link to the upcoming online classes, as well as the Zoom link today of today's recording. It will be available within 24 to 48 hours. I also attached Michael's tag, so if you want to send your beautiful creation, please do. Thank you so much for joining again. Thank you, Jess, and I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday.